Hey Courtyard, welcome back to science class. Thank you to those of you who took the time to draw your favorite animals to share with me today. They looked really cool. If you haven't done it yet, you totally still can. Just make sure that you let me know if it has an endoskeleton, an exoskeleton, or a hydrostatic skeleton. Alright, so today we're going to be learning something new. Today we're going to learn about classification. What on earth is classification? Well, I'm glad you asked. Classification is just a big word meaning to organize stuff by grouping them together by what they have in common. For example, I'm going to put a group of shapes up here on the screen. You tell me what kind they are. You ready? There. What kind of shapes are those? If you said triangle, then you're correct. You just classified those shapes. You saw that with your super sharp eyes, each shape had 3 sides and 3 corners. You knew right away that makes them triangles. That's classification. Now, what does that have to do with science? Well, scientists classify stuff all the time. In fact, we've already done a lot of scientific classifications in our class. We've classified rocks, volcanoes, prehistoric creatures, living things, different kinds of protists by how they move, different kinds of bacteria by how they're shaped, and skeletons. You guys are becoming pretty good scientists. As you've seen this year, classification's really helpful for us. It helps tell us about how to organize important things and store that information in our brains. To see just how important it is, we're gonna play a game. I'm gonna show you a picture of some cards. You have 5 seconds, only 5 seconds, to find the 5 of diamonds. It's a red card. Are you ready? Get set, go. All right, did you find it? If not, you can go back and pause the video until you do. But it isn't that easy, is it? Those cards are a huge mess. It's like the library after a Lego club. Luckily, we can make this game a lot easier. I'm going to show you another picture. This time, all you have to do is point to the group that has the 5 of diamonds. It'll be really easy. You ready? Set, go. Did you point the group with the red cards? If you did point to that group, then you were right. The 5 of diamonds is a red card, so we should find it somewhere in the pile of red cards. Now, we're gonna play one more time. Same rules as last time. Please point to the pile, which would have the 5 of diamonds. Are you ready? And go. If you pointed to the pile of red diamond cards, you're right. Now, think guys, which pile would it be easier to find a card in? The big messy pile, the medium pile where everything's grouped by color, or the smaller piles where everything's grouped by color and shape? Well, the small pile, obviously, because there's only 13 cards in those small piles. So, what does that have to do with animals, Miss Heather? Good question. First, we have to start with a big messy pile that has all of the animals in it, right? And all the living things. We can go big in that. We'll go all living things. Now, these really, really big messy piles that have all of the living things are called domains. Now, from domain, we belong in a domain called eukarya. Now, in eukarya, this is where things are going to start to get familiar, we split everything into the next messy pile called kingdoms. Now, you guys know, because we've been studying this, that there are 5 kingdoms. Can anybody name those 5 kingdoms? Do you guys still remember? I know it's been a little bit, but who can remember what the 5 kingdoms are? I'll wait 10 seconds. Let's see how many of them you can get in 10 seconds, okay? You ready? Set, go. All right, that was 10 seconds. Did you get animals? What about plants? Did you get fungi and bacteria and protists? If you even remembered 1 or 2 of those, pat yourself on the back. It's a really good job. We gotta shake the cobwebs off up here because we've been away from science for a little while. So remember, those are our 5 kingdoms of life, right? Animals, plants, fungi, protists, and bacteria. We've got 5 of them. Now, we've already talked about these 4. Let's focus in on animals because that's what we're studying right now, right? Okay, so starting with the animal kingdom, we are going to take that big messy pile and we're going to break it up into just a few smaller messy piles. Those next messy piles are called phyla. Now, how many piles are there? Good question. Remember, I told you sometimes scientists don't agree on stuff and sometimes they change their mind. Well, this is one where there's really not too much agreeing. Some people say that there are 7, some people say there are 32 to 36 of these groups. We're gonna just study 9 of them. There are more than 9, but we're gonna look at 9 of them. Now, these groups are called phyla. One of them is called a phylum, which is a weird word, phylum. It's the PH making the F sound here. Now, our phylum groups that we're going to study, and you don't have to remember these now because we're going to come back and review them, are, we'll start with Porifera, and there's a very famous Porifera that I'm sure some of you guys are familiar with. Then we have Cnidaria. Cnidaria is a funny word. You see there's a C in there. You don't say the C, you just say Cnidaria. Scientists, who knows? After Cnidaria contains a group called like jellyfish. Aside from Cnidaria, we have another one. This one's really funny, you guys. It's called Platyhelminthes, which is a really big word for flatworms. Yeah, it's a whole creature. And we'll talk about those. We might even get to look at one, so that'll be pretty cool. Flatworms are weird creatures. We'll come back to them. After Platyhelminthes, we have Annelida, or segmented worms. These are the guys that you guys find out in the garden, and we move to other plants to help Miss Jessie make our garden more beautiful. So things like earthworms are in the phylum Annelida. Next, we've got mollusca, which are mollusks like clams and oysters. Next, we have arthropoda, which we talked a little bit about last time. It has like crustaceans, so crabs and lobsters. It has arachnids like scorpions and spiders, and insects like grasshoppers and ants. Next up, we have echinodermata, or echinoderms. Now, echinoderms are pretty cool. I've got one to show you real quick. You guys have seen echinoderms before, and sometimes they look like this. This is an echinoderm. This one's dead, so this is actually just his endoskeleton. But if you've seen one of these on the beach before, this is the skeleton of a sand dollar. Sand dollars are a type of echinoderm, and we're going to talk about those, so I'll come back to Mr. Echinoderm here. But other echinoderms are like sea stars. They're pretty cool creatures. Also sea urchins. Next up, we have Chordata. And this is the most important one because this is our phylum. Chordata means you've got a spinal cord. It's kind of a tricky one too, but we're going to come back to why we're Chordata when we talk just about that later on. So Chordata is for people and anybody who's got like a nice solid backbone. Now I know this is a lot of information like I said before, but don't worry. We're going to go back over every single one of those phyla individually as its own lesson so we can talk about all these different kinds of animals, which is going to be really, really exciting. I really love talking about animals, and I know a lot of you guys do too, so this will be kind of a fun exploration for us. Now, the next step below phylum, because remember, phylum is a bunch of other smaller messy piles, but each of those messy piles gets broken into even smaller messy piles. The next group of smaller messy piles is called class. Now, it's not like what you go to after recess. You don't have to go to a place, there's no time for it. A class is just the name of another kind of group. Now, there are a lot of these groups because, again, we're breaking the big things down into smaller things. And it seems like a lot of work, but remember how easy it was to find that 5 of diamonds in one of the 4 neat piles, than trying to find the 5 of diamonds in the big messy pile. It's really helpful at the end of the day. All right, so below class, we have order. Now, order is just a slightly smaller messy pile. Mammals are a type of class. Order is taking mammals and breaking those into what they eat. So there's an order for animals that eat other animals. There's an order for animals that eat insects. There's an order for animals that eat plants. So this is, again, just helping us to make cleaner, neater groups as we move down the chain. Next below order, we have family. Now, family, it's not like, oh, my family, my mom and my dad and my sister. Different kind of thing altogether. I know you're really enjoying the stay home time with your family though, but that's not the family we're talking about. If we look at each family in the animal kingdom, we'll see that all the animals in these groups are really similar. For example, this is Wendy. Wendy, say hi. Thank you. Now Wendy, Wendy is a dog, but her family name is Canidae. Now Canidae isn't just dogs like Wendy, it's also wolves and coyotes and chihuahuas. It's a big family. Now, her messy pile has all of those dogs, but if we shrink it down to a smaller pile, we'll have dogs that are more like Wendy, that are part border collie, and that can live in your house and won't eat your cat. Things to consider. So there's like 6,000 families at least in the animal kingdom. It's a lot, but remember, many more piles means it's easier to find what you're looking for. Except with your laundry. More piles means you're never going to see your socks again. So you'll have to wear the same pair for 3 weeks. Your parents won't appreciate that. Don't do that. Change your socks. Well, we're down to our final 2 messy piles. Genus and species. Now, these ones are really important to learn, and we learn them together because that's how we come up with a name for all living things on Earth. You have a first and a last name. Mine is Heather Dominguez Cuevas. Dominguez Cuevas is conjoined, but it's my last name. So Heather and then Dominguez Cuevas. Well, all animals also have a first and last name, sort of. So let me explain. 300 years ago, there's a Swedish guy named Carolus Linnaeus, and he decided we need to organize all these living things a little bit better. So he came up with all the stuff that I just taught you about. Now, another thing he came up with was this system called binomial nomenclature. Yeah, binomial nomenclature, which means we're just going to call things by 2 names, just like you do. So just like you guys have 2 names, all animals and living creatures do too. For example, our name for humans, not just you, but all humans all together, is Homo sapiens. House cats are Felis catus, and so on. So, to review, the groups from biggest to smallest, so from big messy pile down to smaller, less messy piles, are domain, kingdom, phylum, class, order, family, genus, and species. Now, I'm going to teach you a really fun way to remember all of that next time, so don't worry about it right now. But until then, I have a surprise for you guys. Do you remember when we had our visit from the FEO Nature Center, probably 3 weeks ago? And remember how they had that big, beautiful, great horned owl named Echo? And Echo loved being with us so much that he left us a gift. Here is Echo's pellet, ladies and gentlemen. Now, an owl pellet isn't what you think it is. Let's say an owl eats a mouse or a lizard and it vomits up all the indigestible feathers and bones from its prey. Well, that's what this is. It's just a pile of feathers and bones and, other stuff. So we're going to take a minute and I'm going to break this down so we can look inside and see if we recognize anything. I'm going to pull this stuff apart, and if you see some kind of a bone that you maybe recognize, obviously these will not be human bones, but if you see a bone that looks like maybe something familiar, go ahead and let me know. If you do recognize something and you tell me and you're correct, I may have a little prize for you when we get back. So look really carefully and good luck. All right, guys, so here we have Echo's pellet. You can see if you look real close, it's still kind of mushy and wet, but it'll be okay to pull apart. So what we have is a lot of mouse fur here. Echo eats tons of mice out of the FEO Center. And if I pull things apart really carefully, what you can start to see is there's actually little bits of bone already coming apart. So let's just keep pulling and see what we have.
Oh, I see at least one recognizable bone. And when I pull everything open, you'll be able to see it a little bit more too. Now remember, we're looking for bones we recognize, but we also need to keep in mind that mice are very much smaller than people. So think about what different bones in a mice's body would look like size-wise. Like, what do you think? Oh, here we go. Here we have a bone, if you could focus on that, that's got kind of a triangular shape right here to it. Do you see how, if it was complete, it would probably open up all the way here and be a triangle. So what do you think that could be? All right, if we keep digging around, here's another bone here that we might recognize. Let's see. If we look really carefully, you can see some little teeth at the bottom here. And this looks like a hinge joint, like it would work like this. So what do you think this bone could be on a rat? And then finally, if you see, there's only one or two of these big guys, but these are probably the biggest bone in the rat's body. So what do you think that could be? All right, so let's keep breaking stuff apart and see what else we've combined here. Mostly I'm seeing lots of tiny, tiny bits and bones. I've got one more that you guys might be able to recognize right off the bat, and it's right here. It's very thin. So if you look really carefully, it looks about like a human eyebrow hair. Now that right there is another bone, and usually you find it with lots and lots and lots of other bones. Can you tell me what kind of bone that is? All right, remember, if you can recognize any of these bones, let me know, and we'll go ahead and talk about it in our next video. We'll talk about what kind of bones we're seeing here. Now, I'll save all this stuff in a bag so you guys can take a look at it when we get back, now that the pellet's all broken up and pulled apart. And if you're ever interested in doing this, this is something we can do in class too, so you just need to let me know, all right? All right, guys, that's it for today, and I will see you later this week for some more science.